This watch is only 36mm wide, so why does it look so big? Hi last watchers, this is the Mecexp MS1001 red steel, which comes courtesy, that is free to me, from new brand Mechanical Exploration. I'm not being paid for this review, and my views as always are my own. The tongue-in-cheek intro might lead you to believe that this is a big watch, but looks can be deceiving. Let's check out the dimensions and see how it stacks up. It has a case width of only 36.1mm, 39 if you include the crown, and a surprisingly wide lug width of 22mm. The case length is only 41.5mm, with the added lugs taking that to 47.2. The case is 14mm thick at its highest peak. The total weight on this rather thick leather strap comes to 87.19 grams. The stats would have you believe that this is less than a mid-size watch, but alongside my favourite homage, the equally proportioned Steinhardt OVM 39, you may be fooled into thinking that the Mecexp is the bigger of the two. If you include the crown, no one does, the OVM is actually 4mm wider. I'm sure the almost straight tonneau design plays a large part, but it's not the only factor at play. The case of the MS1001, which is a lot easier to say than Mecexp, is predominantly brushed stainless steel that doesn't pull any punches with its unforgiving sharp angular edges. The only softness is the previously mentioned subtle tonneau K-shape, which stops it from being an almost monolithic slab. Its profile has been routed with bold sandblasted straight lines to give a sandwich appearance to its loaf-sized proportions. The nose-shaped lugs are relatively petite in comparison. They've been pierced, drilled holes that aid with easy spring bar removal. The free-moving crown has a wide coin edge and has been engraved with the Mecexp logo. The face of the watch has an apex roof design that rises to a central ridge, dividing the watch in two, a dual display necessitating the requirement for not one but two sapphire crystals. The central ridge, like the sides, has been routed but also engraved with the Mecexp name. At its base is a plinth-like plaque with a reverse engraving denoting the watch's revolutionary flyback facility. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Beneath the dual crystals, we break away from your standard traditional dial. There's nothing normal or remotely familiar about the layout of this timepiece, but it does remind me ever so slightly of a 1980s domestic thermostat. On closer inspection, we have an almost mirror image analog display. At its core are dual-threaded screw-like barrels with attached stubby pentagon-shaped pointers. Their faces are sandblasted with brush-chiseled edges. They have a morsel of loom, a central strip, and the tiniest full circles at their points. Each arrow points outwardly to glossy red printed Arabic numerals, separated and underscored with off-white loom markers. On the left, the Arabics represent a 12-hour timescale, starting at 12 o'clock, then jumping up in 2-hour increments from 2 to 12. The odd hours are represented by the aforementioned white markers. There's also a minute scale for the chronograph function, tiny white indices with the 5-minute increments in red. On the right side, the Arabics are similarly painted, red 10-minute markers with the loom plots now representing the 5-minute intervals. The inner scale here is used as the second counter for the aforementioned chronograph function. I'll come back to the mechanics and explain how it all works in a jiffy. The rear of the case has been sandblasted and is partially decorated with some subtle raised contours emanating from the lugs, but on the whole it's almost entirely flat, with 6 screws securing it to the case. It's been engraved with the Mecexp name and model number, and it advertises the watch's sapphire crystals, stainless steel construction, and its 5 meters of water resistance. There's also a serial number, which is quite rare for a Chinese-made watch, but not unheard of. At the heart of the case back are contacts for the supplied USB-C charger, a slippery little bugger that gives less than a secure fit. I find it best to charge the MS1001 face down, as there's less chance of the cable coming unstuck. The watch also glows green whilst charging and may keep you awake at night if sat on your bedside table. On the flip side, it will pulsate like a Cylon with a red flash when your power reserve is critically low. The black leather strap is pretty decent and I suspect quite durable, aided by its nylon canvas outer face. It starts at 22mm between the lugs before tapering to 20mm at the tail, and also where it meets the tang and buckle. The softly brushed and sandblasted tang and buckle has some curves and contours that might have been appreciated on the Mecexp case. Their only connection is the engraved Mecexp branding. The strap has a fixed and floating keeper and is decorated with red stitching, giving some uniformity with the watch dial. Now let's talk about the mechanics and time-telling capabilities of the MS1001, as it's unlike anything that I've had the pleasure to review, and I'm more than happy to take your advice on how to categorize this fusion of technology. It has non-traditional mechanical parts. You won't find a balance wheel, escapement or mainspring here. Its power is derived from a lithium battery, and yet there's no mention of quartz or spring drives. Instead, it has a chip to process the time and its other functions, but the display is analog and not digital. It blows the power-hungry Apple Watch out the water with a month-long power reserve when fully charged, but it's by no means a smartwatch. So what exactly does your £263 or $349 get you? Mechanical, electrical, modern, retro? The Mecexp may have them all. It's a confusing beast that is rather simple in its operation, provided you can count backwards from 4 to 0. The signed crown has a push-button facility that controls all the operations of this time-telling oddity. Pressing the crown 4 times within a 2-second period puts the watch into calibration mode, which places those pointer-style hands at the bottom of the scale, a 0 position, a starting point for setting the time. Turning the crown clockwise will now advance the hour hand up the scale. You can scroll back if necessary. When happy with the designated hour, pressing the crown again locks it in place and moves the crown control over to the minute hand. Adjust in the same way by rotating the crown and press again to complete the time setting. It's a lot simpler than it sounds. Pressing the crown 3 times in 2 seconds takes you to the chronograph function. Both hands will reset to the start position. Pressing the crown again starts the chronograph ticking. Yes, ticking of sorts, which has a reassuringly satisfying mechanical sound. Let it run for a minute and you'll get to see the Mecexp flyback function in motion. Pressing the crown once will stop the chronograph timer and a final press will return you to normal timekeeping. Pressing the crown 2 times in a second will bounce the hour hand to 0 before immediately sending it back up the scale to indicate the watch's power reserve. 10 would be fully charged. The 9 here indicates 90%. Sadly for you rock fans out there, it won't go to 11. A single press of the crown will illuminate the dial with a lovely blue-white glow, which does a way better job of helping you tell the time in the dark compared to the rather paltry lume. The light will disappear after approximately 5 seconds, but you can conserve energy before that timeout by pushing the crown once more. I suspect that most owners of the MS1001 will drain the battery quite quickly, playing with the nightlight function. Lastly, pushing and holding the crown, apparently that's 0, for 4 seconds will force the watch into sleep mode. The watch will flash twice to let you know it's snoozing and the hands will cease to move. Waking the watch up is as simple as pressing the crown again. The watch will give a double flash and the hands will take up the correct time positions. I'm hoping you got all that first time round, but if not, feel free to scroll back and watch that part of the review again. The Mecexp 1001 came well packaged in a black sleeved velvet lined box. Displayed on a rather tight-fitting cushion, there was some wear suggesting that it might need some more headroom while stored. Nonetheless, it was a good first impression. The pull-out tray revealed a multi-language instruction manual, charging cable and a 2-year guarantee, which might prove useful for new tech. There was also a bonus item. On the wrist, the Mecexp is a bit of a lump that I think will favour those with medium to large wrists or individuals with larger than life characters. However, on the plus side, my MS1001 also came with an additional rubber strap which fits seamlessly to the watch case and gives a more secure and streamlined look. It was the bonus in the box that I think most wearers would or should choose. As you can see, I've already relegated the black leather composite to the subs bench. The Mecexp is a bit of a wild card that dares to break the norms of modern watchmaking that still has me scratching my head as to how it should be defined. Initially, I got 1950s Robbie the Robot vibes from those electrically powered mechanical innards. It's by no means a skeleton display, more of a brain, of sorts. A retrospective look at new technology that Charles Babbage would be proud of. Unfortunately, it comes with Babbage proportions, and in order to house the mechanics involved, the case design fills out its mass like a Tesla Cybertruck. Ultimately, it's all about design, bringing back my Steinhardt, which is an unashamed copy of the Rolex Milsub. Its equal proportions are masked by its round shape, flattering curves and contours, and a gorgeous domed crystal, whereas the Mecexp is an unforgiving slab that wears bigger than it should due to its squarish shape. It looks bigger because geometrically, by volume, it is. The MS1001 is a brave concept from Jason at Mechanical Exploration, the first watch from an evolving brand with various colour dial and case material options that may well be lapped up by those with a taste for the avant-garde. If future mechanics allow, it would certainly benefit from a lower profile and integrated lugs. It will be interesting to see what comes next from the brand. For those of you that are interested, I'll leave a link to their website in the video description below. Let me know what you think of the Mecexp and your thoughts on how it should be categorised. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notifications button, and I'll see you all in the next video.